because like before, like you're starting over every month. You have to like sing for your supper, and then this just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And then yes, you get freedom, you get certainty, you get confidence, and you're like, let's drop that crappy insurance. Let's
Yeah.
get rid of this thing. Let's give this person a raise. Like, I don't want them to leave. I'm going to give them a raise. Let's buy that new computer. Let's do this. Like, you start getting confidence with that.
Well, hello everybody. Dr. Bodzin here at Cash Practice, and I am here with Dr. Naota from Trackstat, and I'm so excited to bring him on today and share with everybody the amazing things he does. We met a number of years ago. You obviously know we're both in the software world, two like minds, and we got together and started chatting, and here we are years later, and I'm so excited to share with you guys some behind the scenes stuff going on with Dr. Naota. So I want to just start with this. We're both in charge of software companies today. We have a similar background. We're both former chiropractors or chiropractors, right? We don't practice any longer. I know you're more recently out of practice, where I'm out of practice a little bit longer, but here we now both run software companies that we founded. I'm sure it's those listening right now would be very curious about some of our stories and some of your stories. So let me just start with this. What got you into chiropractic? I know you've probably been asked this question a million times, but for our audience, like, where did that journey start?
Uh, well, car accident, really. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I remember when I was 8 years old, we grew up, not, I would say upper lower class, right? So we most of the time we had food. Like we did go to the food bank when I was little, so like we did struggle, right? So like a lot of times there's like more days than money in the month. And I just remember, there was like a kid in school that seemed to be doing well, or parents did well, and I was like talking to the dad when I was 8, and he said he was a businessman, and like he had a Rolex, he had like a car that didn't have primer on it, it was a Mercedes, and like I just remember like this kid, like they had choices, and like I just remember growing up, like the kind of cereal, the kind of like we never had Coca-Cola, we'd have Simply Soda, like everything was like secondhand knockoff, and nothing against that, but like for me, I just I'd like to have I want to have choices. Like we just never had choices. Like we got to eat out once a month. Once a month we'd get Kentucky Fried Chicken and we'd get a bucket of chicken, and that was a big deal in our house, right? So it was like, and for Christmas, like I'd have like one Transformer toy or something like that. So I just remember coming home. I was 8. I told my mom I wanted to be a businessman, or like, and she's like, the only person that she knew that had a business is like she had some cousins that were dentists, and she's like, well, it's like talked about. So I wanted to be a dentist, right? Because I just wanted to have my own business, and then I volunteered in the hospital in high school. I realized that I didn't like any of this stuff there, and I didn't. A lot of the medical doctors in Canada, they don't have their own practices. They work in a group. So I knew I wanted to be my own boss from a pretty young age. And then, yeah, just went to school, did like pre-dental stuff, pretty allopathic back then. And then I got in a car accident, did medications, did physical therapy for 6 months. I still had a lot of neck pain. I still had like occasional facial pain, headaches. I had low back pain. I had sciatic pain. I got better with the PT, but like it just wasn't all the way better. And I was complaining. I was like 20, complaining to my doctor about it. And he's like, you need to go see an orthopedic surgeon. And that's kind of like when I panicked. So,
Yeah,
and then,
I can imagine.
yeah. And then, like I was anxious a little bit. And then I told my mom, and then she got really anxious. That made me more anxious. Knowing what I know now, they weren't going to do anything, but like you hear the word surgeon, like you're thinking they're going to do surgery on you. And then family friend was seeing this specialist. I didn't even know what the specialist was. And we went and saw them. And then he said that I need to go see his doctor. And then made an appointment. Turned out it was a chiropractor. At that time, I was questioning it because I thought chiropractors only worked on back pain, and I had neck pain, I had headaches, and I had back pain. But I knew I didn't want to see a surgeon. Went there. Within 3 visits, I was like 50% better. Within 2 months, I was all the way better. My acne cleared up. He convinced me to change my diet, and it was different. This guy is like in a small town. His waiting room was packed. I was volunteering at my dentist at the time. Patients were bringing in baked goods, people are high-fiving, people are bringing in their babies to get adjusted, and they were treating high school athletes and hockey players and things like that. And I was like, this is like pretty cool. And the guy was successful. He was passionate about what he did. Patients loved him. And I was like, and that's when, like I told my parents I wanted to be a chiropractor. They tried to talk me out of it. My
I
best
can
friend's
relate.
parents tried to talk me out of it, and everyone tried to talk me out of it. And it just felt right. And yeah, I started looking at schools. Palmer was in the middle of nowhere, and lived in the middle of nowhere, so I didn't want to go there. I looked at Western states. I looked at CMCC in Canada, and then the allure of like my seventh grade, sixth and seventh grade teacher. His nephew was a chiropractor, and I actually talked to him, and he went to LACC, which is now Southern California University of Health Sciences, and you got a visa, got a good job, and like he was very excited about it. So I was like, it just was checking all the boxes, and
Sure.
they said it was right by the beach. You go there, it's not right by the beach. It's
No,
like
it's
it's
not.
a
Whittier.
theoretical 25-minute drive if you're in like 3 in the morning. But like when you're on like Sunday at like 10:30, 11 in the on a Sunday, like that drive's gonna take a little bit with traffic. 45 minutes easy.
Yeah,
So
down
it's
Beach
just
Boulevard.
yeah, that's kind of like how I got there. Met my wife,
Let's pause
and
for a second. Let's pause. All right, let's pause. A couple things I heard. Number one is you didn't grow up with a golden spoon in your mouth, right? You grew up some challenges, at least the way you described it. And the question I want to ask is, do you feel like that upbringing gave you a strong work ethic, desire? Like, you get people who grow up and they have everything handed to them, and you see they do nothing with their life. Not always. I'm kind of generalizing here, but that story of like coming from, I guess you would say, humble beginnings. Do you feel like that's had a significant impact on your drive even to this day?
100%. It's just like 100%. Like it just, yeah, like we grew up, we had a hobby farm. Like I had to get up in the morning, I had to feed animals and then be ready to catch the bus at 7, right?
Yeah,
And then we lived in the middle of nowhere, so you ride the bus forever. So it's like kids don't have that work ethic. And then you get home, that's like you grew up on a farm. You start working when you're like 3. Like as soon
yeah,
as you could like move around and do something. Like remember driving a tractor when I was like 8, right? Like, cause like, we're haying and stuff like that. So it's just, yeah, it's the life. You don't have a choice. And, yeah, like for me, like a driver is, I just wanted to have choices. I saw people that had choices and, like, we go to one grocery store for this. And then we go to another one because my mom had a coupon for another store. And then we go to another store for that. And like, like we would never think about that. It's like the stuff's there. I'm not going to go drive to another store because it's like $1 cheaper.
and the reason I'm asking that question is for those listening right now, we have a large audience of, chiropractors, and some are brand new young guys and some are old school, been out for a long time. And I know you experienced this. You hire people, we hire people. The work ethic today is not necessarily the same strength it was back in the day. I know that's a common thing we keep hearing, at least as we hire people and over the years. And I think there's a lot of value in like count your blessing. Let me just say it this way. I feel like count your blessing if you grew up in an environment where you didn't have everything handed to you, I guess you would say. I'm not surprised you are where you are, that you founded a company and founded another software company. I'm not surprised that's the direction you went. So you went to LACC. I didn't know that. I actually never knew that you went to. I went to LACC too. So we both went to the same school. When did you graduate?
Oh, 7, a little
Oh,
bit
seven.
after you.
Okay. I wonder if my notes were still there because I was probably not. I graduated in 93. I was the class note taker back in the day, and people would buy my notes, and I know they got sold for years later. They were probably gone by the time you got there, but you
Yeah,
never heard
like
Miles notes, did you?
they had well they had other people's notes and stuff like that. There was like a copy store and
Yeah,
they sold
Bella.
out.
Remember Bella's the copy
Yeah,
store?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still
So
there.
dating ourselves here. Yeah, for sure. All right, so you went to LACC too. Awesome. So you got out of when you graduated, did you open up right away? Did you associate? What was
Um, I wanted to go work for one of my mentors for a year. So I did actually an externship for like 3 months for one mentor, and then wanted to go back up to the Northwest. I convinced my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, to follow me up to Seattle. Like to go take the Canadian boards was a little big ass. So I was like, let's just go see if you can handle the weather. She hated the weather. So
Yeah.
then we went back down south. But like it's thought about Phoenix area for a little bit. So I just did an externship for like a Gonstead doc there for 3 months, worked for another guy, a Palmer doc that I known in like downtown Seattle. Did that for a year. And like pretty much at month six, my I remember it was like July 4th, it was raining, and like Nora, like you've met her, like she was just crying in tears because it's never rained in San Diego on the 4th of July. And she's from San Diego. And yeah, it's just like she just started crying. And then I just felt pretty bad. It's like, we're gonna go. And we settled on like kind of like La Quinta, California, which is in the Palm Springs
Yeah.
area. So I was like, we just kind of like that area.
How come you didn't end
And
back in San Diego, just out of curiosity, if she's from there?
um, well,
'Cause
like
I lived in San Diego. That's why I'm asking. I grew up, I mean, that's where I practiced for
we liked it. We
almost 40
talked
years.
about it. It just cost of living. Like we did look at like median income of the area.
Yeah,
So it's just a combination of stuff. But like in San Diego, like the traffic was already bad then, and then like she's seen the traffic get worse. Her parents saw the traffic get worse,
sure.
and like,
Any San
well,
Diego docs listening right now, see if you could relate, right?
yeah, like yeah, no, it's just like so we talked about that and yeah, like we not gonna lie, like we like the area, like relative like the cost of living versus like the median income because like you had a lot of snowbirds there that, like we had like four legit billionaires as patients. We had patients worth hundreds of millions. Like we treated there was a place called the Madison Club, which is like down the street from our office. So like if you don't have your own plane there, like I don't know if you're allowed to live there.
Got
So
it.
like
Got
it's
it.
so it was a good area. We did very well with that. And then yeah, obviously like started the software business and taxes in California aren't the greatest. And then we just decided to go to Nevada, right?
Yeah.
So
So you just jammed really fast to the future and the present. So let's back up for a second. You practiced for how long in where you were?
I think 16 years. So I
Okay, so
practiced
it
for
wasn't
17 years.
okay, so it
So
wasn't just a couple years. You did this and um is there anything specific like that you learned in practice? Let's just tell you this for a moment, okay? Before we jump ahead to the software world and all of that stuff. In practice, what are some of the things you think you learned, or what is something you think you could share with the audience that you think of as a great value? Because I've gotten to know you over
um
the years, and I think you have some real strong skill sets that I don't personally possess. And I'm just curious, like, what are some of the things that you did in practice that you think others listening right now would really benefit from hearing?
like I think when I first got out, I thought being the best clinician was gonna drive the practice. So like I always did a ton of CEs. So like I do yeah, like I don't know, like CE seminars, like 8 out of 12 months easily, right? Like weekend seminars,
Sure.
technique seminars, not like the little, nothing against the all in one day ones. Like I've done plenty of those, but like I don't feel like I learn at those ones. And yeah, so I just obsessed about like being a good clinician. And then, like the guy that I worked for said, you got to be a better communicator. You got to work on your adjusting. You got to do all those things. And he actually like had me do a screening. I did a screening 1 week, 4 weeks a month, right? Like every week I'd do a screening, and I always tell new doctors do screenings because you practice getting
Yep.
reps with communication, and it's like you
Been
could
there, done that.
read a book about driving, but you just get tons of reps,
Right.
and I actually did really good at screening. Like I would roast these doctors that have been out for a long time because it was like pretty competitive. And yeah, like when I started going, like I did like a ton of screenings and we kind of grew a practice. And then I realized like I felt like I had the magic script because like I had this consultant, he gave me kind of this ROF, and I felt like it was magic. So I had so much conviction and certainty when I said those words, and I would practice it in front of the mirror. I'd record it. I would listen to my consultations, and like I did a lot of baseball when I was younger, and like you don't get butt hurt when you look at a swing. It's like, oh, you're rolling over. They don't cry about it. It's like, well, just don't do that anymore, right?
Right.
So I just obsessed about those things. So it's like I got like really good at kind of like my ROF and yeah, like I turned one patient into two, get the spouse in there, turn the third one into the fourth one, and we just kind of like built it up. And then yeah, like we crossed like 63K in our ninth month on our own.
That's
Me and my
incredible.
wife renting 2 rooms for $500
Okay, so
each.
I want to just pause for a second. First of all, in a relatively short period of time, you got to 63,000, 60,000 plus of revenue. But I just want to back up for a second. There's two things you said that I think are so important for doctors to hear today. Number one is you did screenings. You went out and actually met people and worked, and you'd rather be out
I
playing
did door to
baseball for the week,
door. I went
right?
door to door even. I went to the
And I
gym. I
did
go
these
to
things too.
primary
I
care.
I went door to door handing out cards. I did screen. I mean, I'm right there with you. I come. We come. We're coming from the same place. But the reason I'm bringing this up is today everybody wants to not do that. They want to do social media. They want to get new patients any way they can that doesn't involve them showing up. And that's not a punch against chiropractors.
Well,
I'm
it
just
didn't
simply saying,
exist.
no, I know it didn't
Like
exist, but I'm saying even today, like you're right,
they
it
want the
didn't.
easy button.
You're
Yeah.
right, the easy button. What I'm getting at is as though that repetition to me, going out and I always say, shaking babies and kissing hands, right? You're going out
Yeah.
and just meeting people is nothing's more powerful. I remember going doing screenings on a weekend, and Monday I'd had 5 to 10 new patients because I did a screening that weekend, and it required work, but my practice grew as a result of that. But you said a second thing there that I want to bring up, and that was you recorded yourself and you went back
Yeah.
and listened and trained and you weren't offended by coaching like oh, I didn't do that right, let me improve it. I'm not the first to say this. I've been telling docs forever, record yourself like this. We're recording right now, you and I are recording. I'll go back and listen to this and say, could I have done a better job with my interview with the doc,
Well, and
with
then
Naota?
with AI, it's so much easier because you could take that into a transcript and you could kind of grade yourself, right?
Absolutely.
It is so much easier with like all the tools today. But like, yeah, I didn't know everything. Like I didn't really know how to market, but I knew because like my boss just had me do a ton of screening. So that was like one skill set I had. And then I go to Chamber of Commerce, I go to Rotary clubs and is
Hmm.
like and like one of the things he had me do is teach a class at Seattle Community College. I did not like public speaking. So what did he do? He signed me up for it as a
Yeah.
good mentor should. And like so I was like I worked 6 to 6. That was my shift. And like by all labor laws, he totally abused everything. And then after that, I'd have to go take a bus and then go teach a community class. But like then I started like talking at like different little clubs and eventually working my way up to like 55 and older places and stuff like that. But I did talks, I did screenings, and like I just go to like different events and yeah, eventually I started marketing, but like one of the things I started doing kind of like like what you guys did is I started doing like an auto debit system. Like everyone that finished a treatment plan, I put them on an auto debit. And like that's when I really felt like I started getting some cojones with marketing because like we had like 10 grand coming in on the first of the month, which we just opened up our own office. So I rented space for a year and a bit. And our rent was, I think, just under 4 grand for like 1,750 square feet. We had like 2 employees. So like getting 10 grand coming in on the first. And then eventually that went to 15, then 16, then 20. And but like that's when I was like, okay, well, like I've covered a large part of my nut right here. And then I started running because I hired people to run ads and they sucked. And then I started studying like Dan Kennedy and other copywriters. And like I would literally like you get those remnant space ads that come in the paper all the time, and I
Sure.
just write them out by hand. It just like trying to figure out like study the ads. Why am I getting this? And I'd sign up for Sleep Number. I'd sign up for all these different advertising companies, get their direct mail pieces, and try to like study it and try to figure out why is this working, right?
You made it a
So
research project, but it's incredible to me how many things we have in common as you're telling your history and your story about the way we practice. And let's transition from it. You mentioned auto debits, by the way. That's great. I think it's awesome that you were doing that. I mean, that's one of the things I've been obviously a big promoter of that here at Cash Practice from back in the day in practice. So yeah, I'm not surprised you were doing that. I want to ask this one question though regarding that topic. You just kindly said, oh, it covered our expenses, it covered a big part of it, allowed me to get bold with my marketing, those things. But from a personal standpoint, I often say that, I'll say this from stage often that it's what gives doctors a feeling of freedom is having this recurring revenue coming in. Can you speak to that? I mean, you shook your head as soon as I said it, like
yeah,
from the
it's
standpoint of that,
it was like that's when I felt like I could start taking some like in baseball you'd say like some hacks, right? Like your oh hack. Like you're
Yeah.
going for like you're trying to go yard. And because like before, like you're starting over every month. You have to like sing for your supper, and then this just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And then yes, you get freedom, you get certainty, you get confidence, and you're like, let's drop that crappy insurance. Let's
Yeah.
get rid of this thing. Let's give this person a raise. Like I don't want them to leave. I'm going to give them a raise. Let's buy that new computer. Let's do this. Like you start getting confidence with that, and that's like when I started like learning marketing, and I would say I got pretty strong at it, and like that's when it really started growing. And then the next problem you have is like people management, finances, and all the
Sure.
other fun
That's
stuff.
all that is. But I just you touched on it, so I just want to kind of hammer that point on those listening that are cash practice clients. Again, here's an example of why we push the recurring payment thing so much is because at the end of the day, it gives you the freedom to be more bold, I guess you would say.
Mhm.
It gives you the freedom to take vacations and all that other stuff that goes along with it. And I didn't ask you to say that, it just came out of you just now. So let me ask you this though. Let's move on now. What was the problem you were experiencing that kind of led you down the path of like you don't just one day wake up and say, I'm going to start a software company, right? You started a software company called Trackstat, and I remember first meeting you when you first, early years ago when you first started this. What there must have been a problem you were solving to even go down the path of starting that, because not every like I can't tell you how many chiropractors have come to me over the years expressing an idea they wanted to have, and it went nowhere. You're one of the very few I've met who had an idea and you've created a company out of it that's doing very, very well. Besides you and me, I don't know any other chiropractors that have really done that. Let's
Well,
start with
like
that. There was a problem you were solving.
yeah, like so kind of like what got us into it is we did these educational seminars. I had other doctors like go to masterminds and they said they want to do these educational seminars and like go figure it out, go figure it out. And then like two of my friends are helping me with it. We turned that into a business. So then we created this seminar business and we were doing a couple hundred of these seminars a month. And that's when I hired our
Oh,
first
wait, a couple hundred
engineer,
seminars a month.
couple hundred seminars for other doctors.
Oh, for other doctors. Okay.
Other doctors. So like in the first year we did like just under a million, second year 1.8, third year 2.3. COVID happened, but our CTO now is that first engineer. And two engineers I tried hiring before that, they didn't work out. And then like I had a friend that worked at Google, like a developer, and he said he could help, but like he just said like what would be better is if he helped me hire someone, right? And then, his advice was like pay them salary even if they have nothing to do because they're going to disappear, work on something else, and they might not be able to come back when it breaks. So like we had, like when we're doing all these seminars for these other docs, I started seeing like all the other like you start looking at other offices and you see
Right.
all the problems that they're having. And like I looked at what we were doing and it was working, but it was way too complicated. We had 7 Google Sheets. We had a soft texting stats tracking software that I'm not going to name. And then we had a texting software and then we had ChiroTouch and then we had nothing talk to each other. And it just like you could have someone that paid like 11 and a half grand for a treatment program, and then they're getting this automated text saying, "Are you still interested in like sciatic treatment or something like that?" And they're like, "WTF? I just
Yeah.
pay you all this money." And it's just because someone forgot to like update the status. And if they updated the status, it updates all the other systems.
So let me just
But if
clarify
they,
for everybody as you say all of it, but like as I'm hearing, what you're saying is in practice, you used a variety of tools that none of them
yeah,
talk to each other for you to do marketing and follow up and all these things. That's what I'm hearing you say. And you
yeah.
saw with your this seminar program, other doctors were having these problems, and you felt like you wanted to teach them what you were doing, but it was too complicated to have them do that. Am I hearing that correctly?
Partially. So it's like we kind of like started there and then like in between projects of the marketing company, like David or CTO, like I just said to my partners, do you care if he works on these things? And he's like, we don't care. If he's got nothing to do, then he could work on it. And then I had like a basic patient tracking, like a treatment plan tracking thing, a recall tracking thing, and a couple KPIs. And like we didn't have a name for it. We called it the tracker thingy. That was the name, the technical name that we called it in the office. And like, yeah, like we had like 2 dozen people using a free software. We didn't have a name for it at the time. And like I felt like I was a drug dealer. I was joke about it because like I get a random call from someone I don't even know. And it's like, So Corey said that you got this thing for Chirotouch. And like, it's like, yeah, dude, I'll hook you up. It's like, and they remote desktop me onto the software. I'd install it, give them a quick little tutorial. And yeah, like I probably should have had a BAA, should have had all these things. But it was like, I wasn't even
It was the
selling it.
wild, wild west.
It was a wild, wild west. And but we felt like we wanted to track patient. We wanted to make it easy for our team members to track patients. We wanted to make it easy for our managers to see if the team is doing their job. And then we wanted a high level accountability. And then like that was happening. And then I was thinking about turning it into a business, but we had all this stuff going on. And then like my dad got sick. And then it turns out at the end of everything, it's not about like a watch, a car, a house. It was like meaning, purpose, value, memories, experiences. And I just remember it was like September 2019, and I had a 2.5 hour conversation with my dad. And I just told my wife, I just like told Nora, I was like, I don't want to wait till I'm 76 and dying of cancer to figure this thing out. This thing that I have these other people telling us we should run with, because I had people using the tracker thingy, which we didn't have a name for it. It's just like, it's like, I want to do it, but like we didn't know what plate to stop spinning. So when
Right.
COVID happened, that seminar business plummeted because we're putting old people in a restaurant a couple hundred times a month. And that was not a good business in
Yeah.
COVID. And that went from like we literally did 2.3 to zero instantly.
Wow.
And like first I freaked the F out. And then after 3 days, I just told myself to quit being a little bitch. And, like I think like whether you believe in God, the universe, or whatever, like we're talking about it, praying about it, and like sometimes you just get handed this thing on a silver platter. And I was like, WTF, like it's like we've been talking about this thing forever. It's like this is our opportunity. Let's just go for it. And like I told David, is like not only do I want to keep you on, I want to see if you could increase your hours, and I want to start having you look for another person. And yeah, like that's kind of like how it started. And then we started selling the first version of this in September 2020. It wasn't even able to text. Our lead developer literally built the first version of our reminders, our marketing campaigns, our automated campaigns, and our reviews in 4 months on his own. Built
That's
and tested. This guy's like just badass.
Before we jump to that, I just want to back up for a second. You had an issue. You had created stuff for your own practice to begin with. You had other doctors who you were dealing with, right? Given you were their dealer and you were getting the product in their hands. And I'm guessing the feedback from those doctors was great, that they loved it. Am I correct in that? Like,
Yeah, no,
the
they
reason I'm
loved it.
saying this is again, I'm not surprised I'm not surprised I've had success, and I'm not surprised you're having it because what you're telling me is like it mirrors my story as well. That we built a product for ourselves. I did a little different. I wasn't giving it away. I was selling it on eBay originally and getting feedback that people loved it. And I'm like, oh wow, this is an incredible. Like there's a market here. Like it's almost like you did. If you didn't plan it, it's you did test marketing, right? You had your product
Yeah,
out there. You saw solved a need that people liked, and then you said, but aha, there's an opportunity here. Maybe that aha moment came as a result of COVID happening, and you're like, wow, shit, we got to do something, right? But nonetheless, you saw an opportunity and you ran with that. And again, I'm actually I'm beyond impressed because for me, I have an engineering background, so I didn't have to deal with finding engineers and all that stuff. I was able to do this stuff myself. I don't know if I would have had the wherewithal to know to hire the right people, how to communicate what I wanted, and have someone else build all this stuff. I think that's next level compared to even what I've done, is that you went ahead and you've worked with people from the beginning that were helping you build this stuff from scratch. I'm impressed by that. I mean, I am.
I, I did hire two duds, so I did get help from a friend to hire a good one because like I can't tell. It's like, okay, well, you talk a little bit, but like I can't gauge your technical thing. And
Yeah,
then like our CTO has done all the technical hiring since like I can see if they're a good teammate.
right.
But like it's been like a very, very interesting ride to kind of get here.
So
So
let's talk this now. You're now in a business. Um, Similar to mine in that, and similar to chiropractic, where in chiropractic you had patients paying you a recurring payment to use your services. Now you have doctors paying you a recurring payment to use your services. Some like with us, we have doctors paying us a recurring payment to use our services. You're providing a service for chiropractors. For those who don't know, your track thingy, I assume that's now Trackstat. Talk
Yeah.
about that. Like, where is that? For the doctors who don't know what Trackstat is, give them a little kind of broad stroke overview, what it is, why they would want to use it, and then maybe we'll even talk a little bit about how our companies even work together.
Yeah, like when we started it, we knew that we wanted to do automation, work with practices, and help with profits. So our corporation name is Automatic Practice Profits. So like I knew that those are kind of like the levers I wanted to pull because like growing a practice, like profitability is huge. When it was me and my wife, it was easy, but as we added in more providers and more services, it was, like everyone looks at top line, but you got to look at like bottom line stuff. And the main thing we do is like you have all this data in your EHR and we want to make it actionable, right? So now we have like AI for like answering the phone, scheduling appointments, making it easier for practices to identify people that should be coming in, making it easier for practices to reduce their operating costs. There's a lot of like busy work, but at the core, the main thing we do is help increase office visits and reduce operating costs. Now,
Increase
some
office
people
visits and reduce operating costs. Totally can
those
relate
are
to
those
that.
are the two main levers that we always try to pull, right?
Yeah.
We can't control like the AR, right? We can't control how much you sell per visit. Now we could identify people that pay more per visit and like, prioritize those people, but we can't make offices call them. We can't
Right.
make them add an extra service or charge a little bit more and increase the value,
So when
right? So
so when someone's using Trackstat, it's just to clarify, because sometimes we talk software, we get this question all the time. Oh, like, do you replace our EHR? No, we don't. Your company, like our company, it's an add-on to the EHR. It's not a replacement to the EHR. And when they work with your product and it's connected to their EHR, as I know, they get a dashboard that the office uses to have knowledge about what actions they need to take. And those actions are going to be around improving profitability, improving retention, and there's going to be actionable items. Am I accurate in that statement?
yeah. Oh, it's just like we have stuff in there to make it easier for a huddle. Like if people do a pre-shift huddle, like you can see all the people coming in, who owes money, who needs to be scheduled out, who's actually due for a re-exam and they're coming in for a regular visit. And we pushed like little alerts or pop-ups into the EHR. So we make that easy. We could pull up cash practice info because you can see, oh, they owe money, but they have a payment coming out next week. So now we don't have to bother them. So like just putting those two pieces of information right beside each other. And
Right,
we make it easy for them to text, email, schedule them versus like taking 7, 15, 20 clicks to do certain things. So,
right.
like that's an example. And then like now we're just building more and more AI into our thing because like offices are getting busier. So we're literally building mini AI employees because we have like very structured data and it just makes it easy because like as you know, like AI can go off the rails very
Yeah,
easily. And like you could have it on the back end hidden where the AI is doing it, but like it's hard for people to see is the AI doing the right thing and the wrong thing. But like with our workflows that we have, the AI agents are literally going to be working all those different reports, and you can see they've reached out to them. How often? When's the last time? What did they say and stuff like that. So like that's the stuff that we're on right now because at the end of the day, like we can't replace human to human interactions. And, like we're always trying to focus on how can we free the team up for more human to human activity.
and I would imagine it's sort of like I'll use the analogy if you're flying a plane or you're driving a vehicle, whatever, you have some instruments that are guiding you, and potentially the car's taking care of itself, but the instruments there might trigger you to take certain actions. Maybe you need to turn left or turn right or slow down or speed up. And that human to human interaction. In fact, I know we just got I'm sure like you get reviews for your company and we get regular reviews, and we just had a review come in, and part of the review being written in there was that the ability to call into the company and talk to a human being, how much they like that, being able to have that solution. Now, if you have an AI agent that can answer basic things, that's wonderful. But we do crave that. We do crave having that interaction with human, that human connection you're just saying of being able to, I guess you'd say, get your questions answered. Let's just say that.
Yeah, no, it just And like our focus is going to be like if an office wants to do all that, that's fine. But like we want to free them up for like human to human activity in the office or
Right.
handling phone calls that like an AI receptionist can't. Like if someone's complaining about their EOB, right? Our AI agent empathizes with them, doesn't attempt to answer it, and offers to transfer them to a team member. Because
Awesome.
if we get it right 99 times out of 100, they're still going to get very upset about that one time. But if the staff member gets it wrong one out of two times, that's okay because they're a human, but they
Yeah.
expect AI to be 100%.
Yeah. And
So
it's so
like
and it's so
it's
new to everybody.
yeah, it's pretty new, but like yeah, like I don't know, like where I kind of see things maybe going in the future. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we're gonna have a bunch of like almost doc in the block practices. Like with all this AI automation and technology, like you could literally open up a miniature office like with one doc and one therapy assistant. And like, you could have AI answer the phones, AI handle all like the patient recall activities, aside from like literally collecting cash or inputting a credit card. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to be able to do, and it's just going to allow practices to be more efficient. Now, for bigger practices, of course, yes, they're going to have a receptionist and stuff
Right.
like that.
Right. Let's
So,
transition for a second, for a moment. You briefly mentioned, a payment thing. Let's just talk since we both have software companies and yes, our companies work together. Let's talk a little bit about where that integration is to those who are mutual clients or potentially someone who's a cash practice client, why they might want to use Trackstat and vice versa. If someone's a Trackstat, why they might want to contact cash practice and utilize us. Let's just briefly talk about what is that integration and what is it we're offering as a group.
yeah, like one of the things, like if people are running meta ads, like Facebook ads, like about half of people show, right? So if you integrate cash practice in there and you charge anything, if you just charge $1, I don't care what you charge, you're going to get half of the people not scheduled, but that's going to be the half that don't show, right? So it's like prior to that, people's solution is to either complain or overschedule, right? It's going to be like one of the two things. So it's like if you just integrated cash practice in there, even if they charge like a $20 deposit, like you're going to get the interested people that are going to show.
I just want to
So,
clarify what you're saying is in a Facebook ad, let's just say someone wants to book an appointment. What you're suggesting is when they book that appointment, it's going to open up an interface for them to make a payment for a deposit for that initial visit.
correct.
And they could use cash practice and they're all and again with tracks that you're the one running that ad. Correct, where does the Facebook part come into that? Because I already know, for example, you can get a link to for them to make the payment, but help me understand what we're talking about right now when it came to Facebook just now.
Well, like if they're running Facebook and they text them a scheduling link,
Got it. Text and
right?
schedule.
They're gonna pick a time, put in their info, and then on the thank you page, it's a cash practice thing.
Got
If
it.
they bounce at that point, it will put it onto the schedule, hold it there for tw up to midnight, and the office can manually approve it, like get a hold of the person and collect the card over the phone, or if the person's ignored them, it doesn't get added to the schedule.
So what I'm hearing
If
you say, if I was using the service and I'm the doctor marketing online, I have my Facebook ad and it's a new patient acquisition Facebook ad. They click on that, it opens up a Trackstat interface. It texts them a link. They get the link for them to book the appointment. They go through the process, and to complete that process, it's then going to ask them for a payment. That's where cash practice comes in. They collect the payment, and that confirms the appointment. Should they not do the payment, there's an alternate way for them to still potentially reserve the appointment for the office to approve it first.
Yep.
It sounds to me like what we're solving is the problem of doctors will market on Facebook and they get a ton of appointments and none of them show up or half of them show up or whatever.
Yeah, it's
This is,
usually half. So
yeah,
now you're going to get almost all of them showing up. And then the other option is like we'll have an embeddable thing that so if they drive them to like say a little website with information on it, like they pick a date, pick a time, put in their info, and then the cash practice thing immediately pops up. And then they have to put in their information. So
so
like
that's
if they choose to, we don't collect it on the front end because now you have all their information. So like now the office, if they do bounce, the office can get a hold of them.
all
Right.
right.
So
Just for the listeners, in all these cases, whether it's a Facebook ad or an email campaign or whatever it is, ultimately that person's going to go through Trackstat to book their appointment, capture their
yep.
name, their email, all of that. And by the time they get to the end, before it's confirmed, the last step is, oh, here's your payment information to make a deposit for your appointment to come into the office.
Yep.
Yeah,
And it's linked to the appointment, unlike just texting it out as a thank you. Like, because like some people will just text it out, but the appointment's still sitting there, right?
right,
And then the other use case that people use it for is a lot of times with massage with a longer visit, right? So like with follow-up visits, like so if you're going to book a massage, you still have to pay a deposit for
right.
that. So like that's another use case that's used quite commonly.
And
Um,
let's talk for a moment. Um, that's the use case scenario. So if you're a cash practice client and you're like, huh, that's interesting. I want to be able to book appointments online and collect a deposit. Trackstat's a solution for actually getting that appointment booked, doing the scheduling and all that part of it. And cash practice is the part that you use for actually collecting the payment, and it's seamless altogether. And if you're a Trackstat client and you don't have cash practice and you want to do that, but you're doing the appointments, you're just not getting the money, then you would contact us and say, oh, let's get that connected. And the systems talk to each other. Not only
yeah,
that, but if you're using obviously an EHR that's integrated, you've collected the money, you've booked the appointment, and it posts your EHR all at once, and it
yeah.
does it all seamlessly for you.
So like that's one use case. The membership thing, like the thing that was a pain in the butt with our membership is we had a list of patients that were on our auto debit in our merchant processor. We had a list of patients that were on a membership on a spreadsheet. And then like if they've scheduled their next visit when they're in there, it's easy. But if they don't, they can like disappear. If they miss and you can't get a hold of them. So like you have to look at your list, then look in the EHR and see which one of them have a next visit. Then you cross-reference that with your merchant processor, and you got to see if they have a credit or a balance, and then you got to
Sure,
see when their next payment's coming in. And it's a real pain in the butt. So, like, we have a thing for memberships. You could filter it down by membership. You could filter it down some more to see people that don't have a next visit on their membership. Then you could look at all the people that have a credit, and then you could reach out to those people, right? You can see all the people that have a card expiring. You can see when their next payment's coming out. But we make that part easy. It wasn't the end of the world, but like, yeah, like we had like a decent amount of people in there. We had a bunch of people coming in once or twice a month. It was like 20 grand a month. And, like they weren't like $1,000 visits. So like we had a few hundred visits a month easily coming from that. And it was a pain in the butt, but it was a problem worth solving, right?
yeah.
So we did it. But like I'd highly encourage anyone that's not doing an auto debit membership to do it because I know you're a huge fan of it. We're a huge fan of it. And yeah, it's just awesome. It just
The,
gives you
the,
that confidence.
there's a reason Netflix is a subscription. There's a reason your probably your cell phone is being paid automatically every month. Like, there's a reason companies do it. It's not just for the fun of it. It's not just because it's more convenient. It's literally because it creates a constant flow of cash in that business, as well as it reduces churn. It reduces dropout. I know, for example, that if you're not doing an auto debit and it's kind of more of a manual process, your you're unknowingly causing the patient or your customer, your patient, to question the bill. Like if you're mailing them a statement every month, as an example, they're getting a bill, there's a reason they might go look at something else. I'll use the cell phone as an example. When your bill is automated, you probably haven't looked at your cell phone bill in years. But if you were physically paying it every month, you might look at it and say, hey, maybe there's a better deal at AT&T or maybe there's a better deal at Verizon. You might think about shopping it around if you're seeing that bill every month versus if you just had it kind of automated as part of everything else. So
Well,
yeah, there's a lot
that's
of reasons.
talking about statements. It's kind of interesting because that's another thing that we do. We'll also generate a statement in there. So for people that are doing insurance, right? So you could like, well, the thing called a patient card. You click a dollar sign, and like you could generate a little statement from Cash Practice. So we generate that within Trackstat. I mean, within Cash Practice on the back end of Trackstat, and then like it just pops in the little link, and you could easily text out a pay link.
So just to clarify, we mentioned a number of different things here, whether it's statements, Facebook marketing, scheduling for new patients, like all of this stuff. It's all doing different things, but similar. It's different
Yeah.
activities, but on the back end, it's generating a link from Cash Practice for the patient or the lead to make a payment to then do that thing.
Because it
Whether it's
makes it
make a
easier.
deposit.
Because,
Yeah.
like, you'd have to go into cash practice. You have to type in last name. You have to type in first name. You have to find the patient. You have to generate the statement. You got to get the link. Then you got to go into your texting software. Then you got to put that in. And it's just like it's a pain in the butt. But like we could query it. You could see kind of like your list of services, check off the services, paste in the link, text it out. You could email it out by all means. But a lot of people prefer texting it and they make the payment, right?
Yeah.
For or you can mail it out and like pay a bunch of money and it's just a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it is in today's world. Getting a link that someone clicks on to make a payment, assuming they trust the link. We always go back to that. Like people get a link to requesting credit card information. It's always like they know it's a valid link, so that there's a little communication. We always say you should have some communication with your patients about the links they're going to be receiving from you. But nonetheless, the having that security of no or that ability to be able to send that link out for people to make a payment, it does improve the amount of money you're collecting. One thing we also see is that, for example, that I'll just kind of throw out there. Not only are you having, you collecting that money, but you're not gonna store that card on file, and that card is now available for any other purchases in the future. And that card is available, like if the patient's going to enroll in a care plan or pay for a massage or whatever it is. That billing's already on file. And one of my favorite things about it, I'll just kind of throw this out there, is in our platform, if that card ever expires, our relationship with the bank, we have a relationship that will automatically update those cards for the doctor. Where if it expired, instead of that patient payment declining, the bank will update the billing on your behalf, so you're not having to ask the patient for new billing. It's a really nice feature to have that billing updated. I'm sure for you as well. Like we use
Yeah.
that cash practice, like for our doctors, for example, they're paying a subscription fee to use our services every month. And decline payments or cards expiring is always a challenge for those. So having a service that will update people's credit cards so that the service doesn't expire, et cetera, it's a lifesaver for that business to have that kind of feature.
Yeah. And then like when people are transitioning over to cash practice or seeing those cards, like we'll have this thing called an appointment report. You'll see kind of the list of all your appointments for like the day, the week, whatever time period, but you could easily see who has a card on file and who doesn't. So we talked about texting out a link. Because if you text or email me a link and ask me to put a credit card in there, there's not a chance in hell that I'm
Right.
going to put my card in there. But like, like I'm a little bit more skeptical like you, and you're not
Yep.
going to do that either. But you can see that list of people, and then you can pop in like a little message in the appointment
Yep.
report. So when the patient checks in, the front desk gets this little pop-up, hey, you got to collect a card, collect a card, collect
Yep.
a card. And it just makes it easy to get everyone's card on file. But like we had cards on file for our patients, and yes, you pay like a tiny amount more per run, but it's like patients loved it, front
Yep.
desk loved it. It's way easier than like putting it in the little
I'll
scanner
share.
thing.
I'll share
Yeah.
with you. You're right. I don't want to say it this way, but I'll say it this way is that I've unfortunately met many chiropractors who will trip over dollars to save nickels, where they're worried about spending a few dollars because they're concerned about a few pennies here and there. Don't do that. Like you said, it might be a little more expensive to process that way, but the amount of money you're making over that is just it doesn't even compare. Like you're making dollars and you're not worried about losing nickels here
It
and there.
was so convenient because we had like this membership, right? So some of the people would, we had a membership where it was like one visit or two visits, but like some of them get a flare up and they want to come in extra. So they got charged at a higher rate, but like, we weren't going to say it's like, well, you're out of visits, you have to come
Yeah.
back next month,
Right.
right? And like, yeah, so we just charged the card on file. And we had that happen a ton. Like they get a flare up playing pickleball, flare
Right.
up playing golf or something like that. And they're not going to come in once. They want to come in like another two or three more times,
And you just
right?
charge them for those extra
And
visits.
then we just charge the card on file, right?
Yep.
And patients loved it, front desk loved it, and yeah, you didn't have we actually like quit putting like one of those big like credit card terminals on the counter because it just took up unnecessary clutter and space. We had like a little USB swiper
Yep.
towards that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we teach our docs to do. That's incredible. So I think we're kind of running out of time here. I think we could probably chat another hour. I know in our personal conversation, so we'll spend an hour and a half, 2 hours talking. So for the sake of time, I'm going to call it quits right here and say it's been incredible having you on. I think there's a lot of value we shared here. I think you shared tremendous value. If you're not familiar with Trackstat, please reach out. Why don't you tell anybody how do they reach out to Trackstat if they want to get a hold
Yeah,
of you?
they could go to trackstat.org, trackstat.org. They could just click, there's some videos on there. They could click watch demo. Like they could schedule a call. We do a free trial for anyone that wants to try before they buy, right? There's not a lot of softwares that you could do that. Like it's hard to do a trial of a credit card
Yeah,
software,
it
right?
is.
So we'll give them a trial of it. They could play around with it for 2 weeks. If they realize that the software is as good as I say it is, then, they could pop in their card ACH at the end and, we will hold their hand and set up the whole thing for them in front of them. So we do
Awesome.
make it very seamless.
Awesome. And inside of Cash Practice, for those of you who are Cash Practice clients, there's a place where we do an API key that we generate for you. And that API key is then entered into Trackstat, and that allows our softwares to talk to each other. So you're able to take advantage of some of the things we just talked about with generating the pay now links, all those types of things. And for those of you listening right now who are not Cash Practice clients, maybe you're a Trackstat client, or maybe you're not either of our clients, you can also reach out to Cash Practice. You just go to cashpractice.com. We'd be happy to answer your questions. And take it from there. Again, we'll give you a demo, share everything, the same kind of scenario. We're happy to be of service to you guys. With that being said, Dr. Naota, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time. I know we know each other personally, but here in this professional environment, I want to just say thanks so much for taking the time. And for those of you listening right now, please reach out. We'd be happy to help you guys. You guys have a great one.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.